have another
think
hurricane
it would,
situation.
yeah, something like that. So over time, clubs like Bayern will come, clubs like what do you call them? Clubs like Madrid will come, clubs like Man City will come and pick him up.
Man City
I'm
get
intent. I'm hold on. I'm intentionally. Yes, it's going to get to that point where they will get tired of whatever it is Haaland brings. You know, the thing with clubs these days is that they get to a point where they feel, oh, what can he do? Okay, he gets there. He scores 3 goals against Leicester City. He scores this. We need that striker that can, give us a little bit more of the, dribbles, the body movement here and there. It will get to that point. And Man City can decide to have both of them on the field. They don't care. They can do it. They have the money. They are not us. They are not Milan, so they know what they are doing.
what is that? What is that?
However, to believe that this guy was begging Arsenal, and I'm sorry to bring Arsenal into this thing, at some point to sign him is something that I had to ask Yinka again. That is this thing not something of our model is that we must not have a standard. The moment Thierry Henry left, we don't want to just win a trophy. We just want to keep managing and being in this space where we say
the success journey.
Yeah, our puzzle must never be complete. We just have that missing puzzle where we'll play with the mind of our supporters for a while and then we'll come again. Then we'll sign a striker, then the midfield we'll miss somebody in the midfield again, and then we'll play with the midfield puzzle. I just think there's something with the model and it's similar to what we are seeing also. No, not similar. It's also like the puzzle is almost the same with what is also happening in Tottenham. Tottenham too, they have decided not to. They just want to not be fortunate, if that's the right word to use. Isak just outgrow Newcastle at some point.
No, he has outgrown Newcastle already. He's not at some point. In the summer, he's expected to move. Unfortunately, there are few clubs that need a striker that are in a good. No. Forget price. There are few clubs that are in a good state of mind, can afford him, and can guarantee him starting position. His choices are very limited. I'm not sure Madrid will be going in for a striker. Barcelona does not have the resources to spend on an Isak. Bayern has Harry Kane.
Part of Camp Nou.
I mean, that was blue. Bayern has Harry Kane. PSG might need a striker. United needs a striker, but they don't have. But they are not in the right state of mind. No, but I did not hear that. Come again.
He said Inter needs a striker.
Do you want to sell? You want to sell your person of San Siro to buy Isak? So, what player do you see Isak ending up in the summer?
Well, I'm not a agent, so I cannot really predict per se. But you mentioned Real Madrid. Personally, I feel like if there's one club that needs Isak the most, Real Madrid would have to be one of them. And I know that this might sound a bit controversial because they have Mbappe, Vinicius, and Rodrigo, but none of these players is an out and out, striker.
Point man. Yes.
You get adding an Isak, even if it means letting go of Rodrigo rather, and finding a way to play Mbappe and Vinicius on either side of Isak gives them one of the best attacks that you can think of. So in terms of having the money and having the need for that kind of striker, I would say Real Madrid. Other than Real Madrid, obviously there's also Arsenal. I'm not sure if Newcastle would want to sell to Arsenal because as long as Arsenal do not win the Premier League, clubs that are fighting for Champions League spots would still think that they are fighting for the same objectives. And Arsenal have not put themselves, Arsenal have put themselves in position to say, okay, we're a level above all of this club. And I know that in terms of club stature and all of that, they are obviously way above the likes of Newcastle and what have you. But I'm talking in terms of objectives now. Because Arsenal is yet to win a trophy, they are not making moves like a club that wants to win a trophy. All of these Newcastle will still think, okay, we're fighting for the same thing, top four. Whether you finish in second and I finish in fourth, we're still going to play in the same Champions League. So why should I strengthen you with my best player? So I don't know if that deal is going to happen, even though Arsenal desperately needs him. Chelsea too might want to look into him because, like we already know, and like most people have already said, Nicholas Jackson is not reliable. Chelsea have shown that they are willing to spend if the need arises. At the very worst, they are just going to spread your contract across 10, 6, 8 to 10 years and tie you down for the next 10 years of your career. So those are the three clubs that I would consider: Arsenal, Real Madrid, and
Chelsea.
in terms of needing him and having the money to actually purchase him.
Well, I would keep PSG as an outside bet. They don't have a striker currently.
That's true.
I
I've
don't
noticed
think.
that they've been playing Dembele as 9 recently as well.
Yes.
Although they have
So
Gonzalo Ramos, I don't know why they've not been using that one. They're still in a position to hold on and say, okay, if nobody sees what we want, we're not going to sell him. But if someone can maybe drop 120 million, I think that Newcastle will sell him. Maybe between 80 and 120.
let's talk about something a bit slightly different, and is the fact that La Liga was very quiet in January. Uh, they had almost zero net spend, and are we anticipating a financial crisis in that league, or the clubs do not just consider that they need players in this January? Inka?
Well, first thing, I'm just going to correct you. How can you say that La Liga was quiet when Lord Anthony joined Real Betis in the transfer market? That alone covers all the transfers. All the transfers that everybody else. That everybody else
The Samba Lord.
the 360K. But on a serious note, I think it's been like that for a while now. The two teams that would normally carry La Liga's transfer market will be Real Madrid and Barcelona. Really think about it, it would be Real Madrid and Barcelona that has been, in terms of transfer dealing, that has been the most active. Atleti sometimes also tries to make themselves heard. But what that says to me is that the league has had this problem for quite a while now. Smaller teams like Getafe, even Valencia, that used to be one of the, I wouldn't say great teams, but one of the big teams in La Liga, no longer has that money to spend like they used to. So it's a problem that they've had for a while now. And the fact that what's the name of their president now? Is it Tebas? Is always, prognosing into how other leagues spend money, and there's a lot about says a lot about what's really happening in his own league, because they are unable to get Barcelona. The Barcelona is in a mess financially, even though they look to be working their way back slowly. Real Madrid have been very, very calculative with the way they spend as well. And the fact that those two teams are also still pushing for the Super League, even in whichever format that they intend to bring it in now, says a lot about where they are financially. Champions League has almost doubled the money that it pays to contestants, and these clubs are still interested in bringing the Super League. So that says a lot. I think there's a problem there. It's just that how deep it is something I do not know.
That's we hope it's not a crisis, because it will really affect the appeal of the league when the league starts having this kind of financial issues. It doesn't tell well. Serie A is still clawing its way out of that kind of image issues. I want us to speak about a smaller club now, which is Como. Como has been consistently, at least for their stature as a club, they've been pumping in money, buying. In January, they bought Coque from Lyon, I think for 60 million or 70 million. That is a lot of money for an Italian club. They seem to be stable at the moment. What does the future hold for Como?
Well, I think that if they survive relegation this season, which I expect them to, the future it can only be upwards from that point. The reason I think so is that they have money, and what
Yeah.
money is unable to solve in football. Yes, I think their owners, their two brothers, they're worth about $50 billion. And what you're unable to solve with money in football, it means that thing is most likely maybe a spiritual issue or a
They should
psychological
bury
problem.
Como and buy Milan now. What are you doing with
They are, they are,
Como?
work, they're working on building a new stadium, or well, not building a new stadium, sort of refurbishing their stadium and expanding it to proper standard.
Do they
The way
own the
they've been
stadium?
moving. Sorry.
Do they own the stadium or it's like a Milan situation?
Well, I'm not particularly sure. I might have to look into that to be sure. But I did read recently, I think it was just last week, that they're looking to expand that stadium. And they also announced it on their official Twitter handle. So they have money. The way they've been moving in the transfer market certainly shows that they're ambitious. The kind of players that they, put their neck for, or for lack of a better phrase, the kind of players that they've shown interest in certainly shows that they are not just looking to battle relegation every season. If they are able to survive this season, I think that their next aim would be a mid-table finish, possibly finish in 10th to 14th position. And then from then on, they can start looking at either consistent mid-table finishes or qualifying for the UEFA Conference League. And, we see what we can do. And like I said, when you have rich owners, almost anything is possible. Of course, when they start qualifying for European competitions, they now have to start worrying about FFP and the like more than they are currently worrying about, stuff like that. But, they have a lot of time before that time to actually put things in place and then compete on a much larger scale.
My only fear is that since Fabregas does not ditch them uh, along the way because he's building something. They play well. They have an idea of what they want to do with the ball, and it's good to watch. And we look forward to them going higher than they are now. Charles, your club has brought in Joao Felix. Uh, he has scored on his debut. Uh, do you think that transfer will end well for both parties?
Barring injuries, because we know who Felix is. He's very injury prone. But barring injury, he would do his bit, and at least off the bench, if we are bringing in players, we know we are not bringing another mediocre or a mediocre player or a below average player to come and replace a player that is doing very well on the field of play. So I would say the transfers so far have been good. Although I expected we were going to probably put most of our focus in the midfield as well a bit, but then we did not. I think we just
They
signed
gave
one
you a
player
midfielder now.
and which someone here tagged the midfielder as the new Edgar Davis.
Without glasses.
Without glasses. For security reasons, I would decide to just protect the person's name. However, because we need someone to give Fofana and Tijani a bit of rest in that middle, which we are not getting. And those guys are playing, they are like gassed out already, and the season is just starting for Milan, if you ask me. If we had probably sealed the quarterfinal qualification in the UEFA Champions League, it would have been a different conversation entirely. But the fact that we have now decided to go through the longer route and stress ourselves out, I think the players will do their job. I think the manager is trying to, like I said, instill a little bit of discipline. Leao now sits on the bench for some games. Yeah, you want to do this, you're sitting out. I can't remember the last game we played where he had to take Leao, Morata, and Theo Hernandez out. The three great players were playing rubbish. Yeah, they were playing rubbish. And it was obvious to the blind that they were playing, that was exactly what they were doing. So he had to do something in the halftime, which, like I said, this is not something we've seen before now. Before now, we would probably be rubbing their head and start begging them, guys, please now. This match is very important to us. Like, they are not being paid salary to do their job. It's their job. But like I said, we have qualities now on the bench. We can look at our bench and say, okay, if this guy is going out, this guy is also coming in. When I say quality, I'm not saying I can't compare us with the likes of Inter
I was
Milan.
going to hate your trouser with that quality that you said. But then you have clarified.
Yeah. But at least we are not bringing in a below average player to come and replace.
And don't mention Inter. Inter's quality is overrated or exaggerated. I beg.
So the fact that Fiorentina did their job does not make it. I don't think so.
I expect Inter to still beat Fiorentina on Monday, but I'm just pointing out. If you watch that game against Fiorentina, on Thursday rather, you'd notice that once the first team does not play, there's really a bit of a gap between the players that replace them. So I think they do have quality, but sometimes it's exaggerated. Sometimes it's too much. The way people talk about it, like it's prime Barcelona or it's prime Real Madrid.
But do you think? Sorry, Samson. Do you think the distance is as a result of what you said some time ago here about the manager wanting to have the first team play exactly the way the second team plays, or the manager's not being dynamic in his approach? Do you think that's the reason why because like you said, there's quality, but then they're just not interpreting exactly what the manager wants when there's a little bit of changes in the setup?
It's one of the reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons. I think the manager also has to adapt to the kind of players that he has. Great managers must always adapt, unless you are Pep Guardiola, that players have to adapt to. For most managers, they adapt to what they have and try to bring out the best in what they have. So you don't insist that all the players in the world have to play in a certain way. It's not possible. But I think the problem is way more than that. But I think that's a discussion for another day anyway.
Let us round up with two players in Serie A that I believe might move in the summer. And I'm talking about Lautaro, Martinez, and Rafa Leao.
Are you a big smoker? Lautaro is not going anywhere. Lautaro is not going anywhere.
If all these clubs that we mentioned are intelligent enough, the Arsenals, the Real Madrid, the Chelsea, the PSG, Lautaro will be on the list of what they are looking at. It can't just be Isak. But I know why Isak does not want Lautaro to leave. His dominion over us will end.
Okay. I'm just going to explain. This has nothing to do with bias. My honest opinion about Lautaro is that he's a very good player, but he's not a consistent player. And what he offers, what Inter gains from him is just as much as what he gains from Inter. I think that if that union is separated, Lautaro will suffer much more than Inter, because Inter will find a replacement and Lautaro might not find the kind of environment that that supports him whenever he goes on that down period, or when he goes on those 8 games without scoring or 7 games without scoring. In the Premier League, they are going to eat him raw. And I do not think that he has the pace as well for the Premier League. He does have the technique, he's strong enough, but the pace is very, very important. But we'll wait and see. I do not think that the union is going, especially because he just renewed his contract recently. But I don't see it happening this summer. Well, I do agree with Ahmed that selling Liao sends the wrong message to the fans, especially because they lost Tonali about 2 seasons ago. Selling Liao now just sort of sends out the message that the ownership is mainly about money, and they are not interested in.
They didn't send the fans when they sold Tonali.
I know, but it still sends
Tonali
the wrong message.
was homeboy. Tonali was homeboy.
What I do not agree with, however, would be that it might take more than 100 million to price Liao away from Milan. Firstly, I do not think that any club would be willing to pay that, and that's because I do not think that his output rather justifies or that price tag. If it was someone that guarantees you goals and assists, and it has to be on a consistent basis, can you vouch or can you say with your full chest that you trust Liao to deliver 25 goals, and that's goals and assists combined in a league season? That's say
With the right
15 goals and
manager, I
10
think he
assists.
can. With
Eh?
the right manager, I think he
The
can.
kind of number that attracts 100 million and above. You must guarantee the numbers, because numbers speak a lot, especially when you were talking about the transfer market. And I do not think that Liao guarantees that. Personally, I like the player. I think he's a fantastic footballer technically. But I just think that he doesn't deliver enough in terms of output. And I think that it's not serious enough. If Liao, you can write it down anywhere. You can write it down, quote me anywhere. When Liao retires, he would be one of those players like Cassano that would be making statements about how they regret not giving their all, and what they should have done better. Because I think that as a person, he knows in his mind that he can give more than he's currently giving, but he just for some reason he doesn't just do that. And these are some of the things that clubs also consider. Some clubs consider who you are as the person. Some clubs consider the numbers that you deliver. And as a person, Liao does not just look like that serious player. He doesn't deliver, a whole lot of goals, particularly. Now, you could say that he's been on top 10 or top whatever list for goals and assists. But who are you comparing it to? The first could be, say, 100 goals. Second could be 80 goals. Third could be, and then the 10th position could be, say, 40 goals. He's still on top 10, but when you compare him to the players way above him, then it doesn't just match, when you do that comparison. So that's the point that I'm trying to make when I say output. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. He's a fantastic player as far as I'm concerned. He's just not a serious player. That's it. If a Saudi club is offering 80 million, and we know that Saudi clubs usually overpay for players, what does that tell you about Liao's actual value? So
Or
if
60 million. Even if they come with less than 80 million, as long as it's within the range of a 60 to 80 million, it should go. Because, see, we have seen enough. We have been punished as fans more than enough by Rafa Leao. And we know how very, very inconsistent he can be. You don't need the kind of energy he brings to the team. In as much as, yes, whatever we are saying, we are throwing jabs at, but if we want to be serious with ourselves, Rafael Leao brings a kind of negative energy to the team at times that affects the whole team as a whole, especially when it's already when there's somebody at the back to partner with the negative energy, which is still Hernandez, then it becomes like a whole problem for the whole team. So in the situation whereby so for me, I think even with 60 million, I will let him go. And then I know with 60 million I can get a better player. I think he should go. If the offer comes, and let us move. We have to start thinking ahead of these guys. They have taken us for a ride for too long, in my opinion.
Well, when we did our Stay or Go AC Milan edition, I think all of us voted Leao House,
Should
if I'm
go.
not mistaken.
Yes, we did. So, sorry, a quick question, and a sincere question from the bottom of my heart. How, aside the fact that Musa is an American, what else makes Musa play for Milan? I just want
I'm
to
going
ask
to
that
leave
question.
this to you guys to discuss. This is a family matter.
No.
It is a family matter. You guys should discuss it.